When you believe that you can, then you can. It really is as simple as that. It's like, if you think that you can't, then you can't.
Hi, welcome back to the Sing Confidently Live Creatively podcast. Estelle here. Today is my interview with Eleri Ward, the incredible Eleri Ward. I cannot wait for you to hear our conversation to help inspire you on your journey as a singer, performing artist, and creative as a whole. She really shares about her journey, her background, and it gives you tools to help you build confidence in your unique journey as a creative and how you can truly express yourself through music, through your singing, and through songwriting as well. So we touch on multiple different topics, and I know you're going to love this conversation if you are on this journey of building confidence as a singer, performer, and a creative artist. Eleri is a singer, songwriter, and actor who's really well known for her indie folk renditions of Stephen Sondheim songs. You might have noticed her or seen her on TikTok or Instagram, where she's really built a huge community over there. And she has her own EP out as well, her own album out called Internal Rituals that you can check out. She talks about that as well. And I'm just so excited for you to hear her journey as she really created her own path and her own way as a singer, songwriter, and actor in the musical theater space, as well as just like outside of the musical theater space. She's created her own way and really has just like opened my eyes and the eyes of so many other artists to see that there are so many possibilities outside of what our industry tells us that we have to do and the things that we need to be in order to be successful, whatever that means, right? So she really breaks a lot of barriers and shows us that you can do so many things as an artist as long as you're willing to be creative and put yourself out there and take action steps, which is what we talk about a lot on this show. So I know that this is going to really inspire you on your journey and keep you motivated to keep going, and make sure that you connect with her afterwards or during the interview because I know you're going to want to. And by the way, if you love her songs or you hear her talking about her songs and you go listen and you're like, oh my gosh, I really want to work on doing her gorgeous ethereal yodel sirens, as she calls them. You want to work on really engaging that higher part of your voice, or really wanting to engage that part of your range. Girl, I got you. I am a vocal coach, and if you've never worked with me, I would love to work with you. If you'd like to check out my studio, you can go to creativelybyestelle.com/studio, and I'd love to help you work on some of those gorgeous falsetto notes that she does so effortlessly, so beautifully. Cannot wait for this conversation. Buckle up, get ready. It's going to be so good. Without further ado, let me introduce you to our incredible guest, Eleri Ward. Hello, we are here with the one and only incredible Eleri Ward. How are you doing, Eleri?
I'm amazing, and I'm so happy to be here and just looking forward to what we're gonna get into
Yes,
today.
ma'am. Okay. So, you guys, it is literally a Monday afternoon. Ellery has taken this time out of her busy schedule to come and inspire us all on our creative journeys. And I'm so excited to be able to connect you guys with her. I found her like years ago on TikTok, back when she was recording Sondheim acoustic covers and like literally created this incredible career movement creative life for herself, and so I'm really excited for you guys to hear her and hear just what she has to share with us. So Ellery, for those who don't know you, who don't follow you on TikTok and Instagram, which they should and definitely will after this, please tell us a little bit about, I would say, who you were growing up, like what kind of how you kind of got into music and musical theater, and
Mhm.
a little bit of like that journey to where you are now. And I know it's like a lot to ask, but as much as you can, let us know. We want to
Of
know.
course. Yeah, I mean, it's so funny when you say that. I think back on like so many different lives I have
Mhm.
lived up until now that have brought me to where I am, and will continue to do so. Because to me, that is what being an artist and like living a creative life is like living all these different identities
Yeah.
throughout time. And so, like, I think about my little self who just wanted to play the violin and hum songs that I was making up in my head at like 2 years old. Um, and then learning piano and uh, basically being told that my teacher was not allowed to play songs back for me that she was assigning to me because then I wouldn't learn how to read music and I would just remember what she played and I would just play what I heard. So then I like finally was forced to read music and learn how to read music, and I got into acting when I was like 8. I made like little plays with my sister in the living room
Of
growing
course.
up, and then one day I like went up to my mom and I was like, I want to be in a real play. And so she got me involved in this youth theater. I'm from Chicago, so I was doing this youth theater in Oak Brook, Illinois. And my first musical was Sound of Music, and I was just immediately enthralled and enamored by all of it. And
Yeah.
I told my mom, like, I have to just do this forever. And so then I started voice lessons off of that, voice lessons and acting classes coming out of that production. Um, and truly from there, it just kind of, I never stopped.
Mm.
I continued to play piano and write music. And then I went to Chicago Academy for the Arts for musical theater. And from there, I went to Berklee College of Music for a year before I transferred and graduated from the Boston Conservatory for musical theater and acting and songwriting. And then I moved to New York immediately and just started auditioning like crazy. And at this point, I I think I had been maybe like brainwashed and conditioned to think that certain things led to capital S success, and um, I had to sing a certain way and sing certain types of songs and I don't know, fit into certain boxes. But what is so strange about that is when I look back during that period of time thinking those things, I also knew that those things were at odds with who I really was.
Mm.
And even throughout school, like, I've always had a big break in my voice. Like, I've always had that crack.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I tried to eliminate it. For the longest time, I just wanted to have one one voice that was all just like mix.
Hmm.
And yet, like there were these little pockets in which I let that side of myself come out, especially in songwriting and when I was just like kind of in my own space and not in the musical theater space. So I knew that there was something not quite aligned with how I was approaching musical theater, and yet I felt like, well, this is how it's supposed to be. So I'm gonna do the things that I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And then, I mean, I had only booked two things from 2017 to 2020 when the pandemic hit. One was a workshop that I did in 2018, and the second one was a show that I didn't even get to do because of COVID.
Yeah.
Um, and at this point, I had been making my Sondheim covers, but I wasn't on TikTok. And in 2021, that's when I joined TikTok and I started just like posting the videos that I already had over the course of 3 years at that point.
Mm.
Um, and then of course they popped off and it totally like it gave me creative purpose and I said, well, I know how to sort of record some things. And at that point, I was living in Boston during the pandemic and had a walk-in closet that was just big enough for me to fit
Mm.
in there with my guitar. So I was like, okay, like I'll make this album in my closet and it'll be like a fun little thing that I do. And then it ultimately changed my life and gave me a a career that I didn't have before,
Mm.
doing something I hadn't even planned. I mean, I kind of always thought that my songwriting self was separate from my musical theater self, and this was the first time that those two things kind of came together. Although, funnily enough, most people don't know this or recognize this, but like I've never been a folk writer. I've never been an indie type of artist
Yeah.
myself. it just so happened to be the perfect genre for me to utilize in
Mm,
approaching that music. It was like, it was just the perfect lens to view the project through. And then it became that. And like, I taught myself how to play guitar. I didn't know, I still don't know chords. Like, I let myself just feel what it's supposed to be and listen to what's in my head. Um, and then I became like this guitar girl. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. But that's also what I say this at most shows that I perform, and I say it all the time, but you don't have to know what you're doing to do it. And I feel like if I said, well, I'm not an indie folk artist
mm,
and I'm not a guitar player really, I wouldn't have done that project. And that project wouldn't have been what it was and given me all of the amazing things that I'm so grateful to have received from it.
yeah.
And so it taught me a lot of like, well, you don't have to know everything. Just do it because you love it and it feels good and you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Um, and then that has ultimately, I mean, like it's given me a career in musical theater that I didn't have before, especially like aligning with projects that actually make sense for me and that I resonate with. And it really taught me that the things that you put out, the work you do, how you show up in the world is the attractor. It is the magnet for the things that are meant to find you. You just have to send the signal out first, right? And from there, I mean, I've always written music. I've written music my whole life. I did it in college. I've just always continued to do it. And coming out of many years singing covers in a style that isn't even really my home base,
Mm,
I was like, okay, like I feel really satisfied with this project. I feel really good about the records that I've put out and the shows that I've done. And now I don't feel inspired in the way that I once was to do this. It would feel derivative. It would
mm,
feel like I'm copying and pasting an idea onto something rather than creating something anew.
yeah.
And I have more to say than just covers and interpretations. I want to write my own, I want to like be step more into the spotlight of my own music, which is something I always kept on the back burner and never like fully identified with,
Mm,
first and foremost. And so from then on, I mean, I have just been writing so much and producing my own music and learning a lot and challenging myself to try new things and just follow my intuition. And then I released my debut album on in September last year in 2025, and it's like my favorite thing I've ever made ever.
yeah.
Like it's the most me thing ever. And so it's felt like I've had to really reintroduce myself to the world through new work and work that really feels like it is centered in my freaking spirit in a way that the other things weren't quite there.
Yeah.
And so now I'm just continuing on that path and I'm writing a musical as well and I'm working on a new album and I'm still auditioning for things when they're the right thing and when I feel called to, but I don't know, making stuff and like creating my own world that I really just love to be in is something that the other things I've done have not been able to add up to.
Mm.
So that was a long-winded way of being like, and now I'm here.
No. That was so good. I mean, the main, like, one of the biggest things that I kept hearing was kind of as a through line is this idea of just, you're just giving yourself permission, and therefore you're giving other people permission to pave a different path
Yeah.
as an artist, a singer, a musician, musical theater performer, and writer now, which is so cool. I don't even know if I knew that you're writing a musical. Okay.
Well, I haven't talked a lot about it because I can't say much about the project, but I
Yeah.
can say that I've been able to like turn. the things that I've been really passionate about
Hmm.
into a new pathway that I never expected myself to take.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't wait for the day when I can openly talk about it more. It's been like, musicals take
Yeah.
forever.
So long.
So
Yeah. But I
it,
know that you've talked about like, oh, you want like what if musicals were like indie, like you've talked about that like on your social media. So I'm like, I know she's gonna write a musical eventually, but I didn't know you were actually doing it. That's
yeah.
amazing.
I mean, I didn't see it coming. It kind of fell onto my lap rather than the other way around. But I'm very
Yeah.
grateful for it. I've learned a
Yeah.
lot.
But you made yourself open to it. And if you hadn't done, I just want people to hear like if you hadn't taken the brave steps to before you even shared it on TikTok, which I didn't realize that you were already doing it for those 3 years before 2020, which is when I stumbled upon your page. But you had already been doing the work. You'd
Oh
already
yeah.
been putting in that creative effort while you were also auditioning and putting yourself out there for shows. And I think that really I love that because I talk a lot on this show about practice routines and putting in like a little bit every day. Start small, or every other day or whatever. But I talk a
Mhm.
lot about like small steps of actions because I know as a singer and a voice teacher, like I know how important just doing those little things consistently, even though you're like, what's the point? Like, what is this actually going to do for me? But like over time, it helps you to become who you really are. Like over time, it's just like a long stretch of time. So you were doing all of that kind of in the background without really knowing that 3 years later, you're going to start sharing it and it was going to like just transform so many things in your
Yeah.
life. Yeah,
Yeah. I
it's
talk
cool.
about planting seeds quite often because
Yeah.
I think as artists, we're like huge seed planters.
Yeah.
And we can plant seeds in places that you never even thought about. You might have had seeds in your pocket and there's a hole in your pocket and you didn't realize you were dropping them behind you. Like,
Right.
and then they pop up in places and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, how
Yeah.
did that get there? But I think having that kind of zoom out moment and kind of taking the time to look at the whole scope of things
Mm.
with a little bit more of that macro perspective can really, really help with the impatience that can come up with
Yes.
things. Because I look back on when I actually began writing my album Internal Rituals. It was coming out of the Sondheim stuff. It was a huge, like, transitional time where I had no idea what was coming, and like I didn't know how I was gonna move from one part of my artistry and my career into the
Mm.
next, through
Yeah.
the next doorway. And it made me really, really depressed, actually.
Mm.
And I wrote a song called Burden to just like, express how I was feeling at that time. And I didn't know at that time that song was the first song I wrote for my debut album of
Yeah.
original music that
Yeah.
was taking me into that next phase of my career and my life. And also during that time is when I began writing this musical that I'm working on too. And that gave me so much inspiration. And yet at the same time, I was like, but like, oh my God, like I need to get a job. Like I've been working as a creative and an artist, and now like it's not where it was. I'm gonna have
Mm.
to get a new job. Like I was like freaking
Yeah.
out about life.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom saying, well, okay, you might not have a job that's paying you right now, but that doesn't mean you don't have a job.
Yeah.
And you're doing your job. It's just not paying you right now. And you're writing this music as an investment. And now, like the musical is actually beginning to move places.
Mm.
When I began and was like crying on the floor, I, I was like, I don't know how this is all gonna work out, and blah, blah, blah. But I was planting those seeds then that now I'm like still in the watering season, but harvesting is coming. And
Wow.
the you can't always know how long planting, watering, and harvesting takes as a cycle, but it is a cycle. And so it will happen.
Yeah.
You just have to invest yourself into the cycle and trust the timing of it. Because if you are planting those seeds, I mean, you'll see flowers growing in between a crack on the sidewalk. Like it
Yeah.
finds its way. It
Yeah.
finds its way. That really helps me stay patient and trusting
Yeah.
of the larger picture.
That's so good. I feel like that's what every artist needed to hear right now. Like, yeah, it's so good because you just first of all, you've taken courageous steps of action by putting yourself out there, by creating your own work, right? Before you could even like become who you are now, right? Where you are now, and who knows what I mean, this is just the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So before you could, and look at you, you're like so confident, you're so like sure of who you are as an artist, and there's still so much more to come. But
Mhm.
before you could get to that place of it's not only the fruit of what your career is, but it's also the fruit of this mindset that you have, this perspective that you have,
Yes.
that I'm
Yeah.
like, I myself am working on. I myself am also trying to help other listeners to get to this place of being like, I am so sure that this is who I'm meant to be, that this is the work that I'm meant to do creatively, that because I've taken these courageous action steps, even when I was scared and I was unsure, I still
Mhm.
took this, planted these seeds
Mhm.
boldly of playing guitar, even though I never took a guitar class. Like, I still
Yeah.
played it, I picked it up, and I still did
Yeah.
it. Not me, you guys, but Ellery, but one day. But I'm just speaking for you, but like that was a courageous step, but you weren't sure, but now you're sure. You're saying, oh no, I know that even though I didn't know how to do it, I know how to do it, right? So you
Yeah.
have this certainty about you, this confidence about you that you didn't have before, and you couldn't have had before because you didn't know. But I just want people to hear that because it's all in process, but part of that harvesting and part of the planting and harvesting is not just in the physical, like seeing the like fruit of like getting to perform your music, which is incredible, but it's also in like who you become in the process, like becoming this confident artist that you are, that you're so sure of who you are, and this just creative gifting that you have. It's beautiful, and it's what we all need. We need to take those courageous action steps and be willing to, like you said, be in it with, trust that the cycle is going to come back around, and we're going to see the fruit of that. We're going to see more confidence in ourselves. We're going to see the fruit of that in the work that we get to do. So it's just, yeah, it's powerful, and there are different layers to that, and I love that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like almost a good way of putting it is like a flame in some way. I think like when you have a passion for what you do and you know it's what you're meant to do, but you just have no idea how it's gonna work out, what is coming, is it going to land, is it gonna take me here or there, like all of those questions. Like they don't actually matter. What matters is that little flame inside that says
Mm,
like I'm confident in the flame. It might not be a freaking bonfire yet, but like it's still a flame and I know that that is there. And then I feel like the more you trust in that flame, the bigger it gets, the bigger the fire gets, the more wood you put in there, the more fuel you put in there.
yeah.
And then it does become a bonfire that you continue to feed and it continues to grow. And then because the fire gets so big, the random stuff that kind of floats by or the doubt or the questioning,
Mm,
it just gets you kind of just like take it into the fire and use it as fuel to like
that's
grow the fire more
yeah.
rather than letting it snuff out that flame, you
That's
know?
so good. I love that. That's a really good metaphor of like stoking the
Well, I
flame.
have my I have my candle right here and I was like, this is the perfect metaphor.
Inspiration. Surround yourselves with inspiration, you guys. Okay, I have to ask you about your songwriting because I want to ask about your music, and I also want to ask about your voice. So, because there's so much good stuff here. Okay, let me start with your voice, because then we'll end with like we'll kind of talk about your music, because I want people to
Great.
listen to your music and look at your gorgeous visuals. Oh my gosh, I have so many questions. Okay.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Okay, so vocally though, I'm a vocal coach, so I
Yeah.
can ask these questions.
Yes.
But you have truly one of the most incredible voices I've heard ever in
Okay,
my life.
let me unhinge my jaw, not just for, lack of jaw tension, but also
Oh,
you're so kind.
but actually, you guys, Ellery, you have such a unique voice, and it's not even that. It's just like the way that you use your voice. It's not only your voice itself, right? You have a natural talent, and you've worked really hard on developing your voice. That's clear. You're trained, right? You know what you're doing. But also on top of that, it's what you have learned to do with your voice. I think when I first started following you, I started realizing how much more creative we could be as singers
Oh
with
yeah.
our voices. Because I always felt like, oh, I'm just a singer. Like, I'm just a singer. Like, I have my keyboard right here. Like, I don't really play like that. I play what I need to for my students,
Yeah, I
I
got you.
play, I can comp and like accompany myself on some, songs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And some songs that I'm writing.
Yes,
I'm trying to get to
girl.
be like Ellery, but in process. So but I'm always like, oh, I'm just a singer, I'm not like actually creating my own like riffs on guitar and stuff like that. But then when I started to think about it and I followed you, I really was like, oh no, this is creativity with your voice. Your voice can do so many incredible things. It doesn't only have to be a belt or a mix or a head voice, like whatever. It doesn't just have to be like, what register are you in? Like, no,
Mm-hmm.
like incorporating riffs and runs and flips intentionally and like having this like playfulness that you have with your voice, I think is so it's a different way of thinking about singing as an artist. And so I want you to talk about like a little bit about like how have you been able to come to this place where you use your voice with this beautiful intention around like flipping and utilizing your falsetto and even up to whistle tone
Uh-huh.
and utilizing yodeling as like a as that style of singing in your music. Like, how have you been able to come to this place of being able to do that and kind of see singing as a creative act, if that makes sense?
Totally. I mean, the first thing that's coming to mind is my voice teacher always says, one voice, many colors.
Hmm.
And I wish my voice teachers when I was younger worded things like that.
Yeah.
Um, because I used to always think like, well, I don't have one voice, I have like three voices. And
Mm.
my voice teacher is like, no, you have one voice, many colors.
I love that.
And our voice really has the ability to be this like very broad palette if you want to play with those colors. If you want to play with those textures, they
Mm.
are there. It is at your disposal. It's just a matter of like accessing them and, like you said, being playful. And I think that is the main thing that has led me to where I am with how I use my voice and especially how I write for my voice is I kind of during the pandemic had this come to Jesus moment where I was like, wait a second, like I've been suppressing all of these things in my own voice that like when I hear in other people, I actually love them, and that's freaking hypocritical.
Mm.
So like I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Like let's debunk all of this like musical theater conditioning. Let's delete all of these things that certain teachers said to me when I was in school. And from that clean slate of just working with is what is naturally inside of me, what comes out.
Mm.
And I kind of just like I returned to the sandbox a little bit and I allowed my voice to kind of show me what it was and what it wanted to be just by being curious about it. and not thinking about these preconceived notions of like, oh, well, this artist does this thing. What if I try that? That can sometimes be a helpful doorway into something, but it shouldn't be the North Star. Like you should always be your own North Star, right? And since then, and what has really honestly like affected my songwriting and my production brain is if something is in my head, if I hear it, is gotta happen. It's gotta come out. So like even if it's just this weird little like mo, like that's what the vocal has to be. That's what that background vocal line has to be. Like like there
Yeah.
are so many weird little background vocal things that I do in my music. If you listen to my album and like really take a listen through the background vocals
Mm,
as the highlight of what you're hearing, you will hear some weird stuff. But like it has to be that way because that's what my intuition was telling me. That's what my mind's eye had in the scope of the song and like in the landscape of the song. And so when that happens, it'll even open me up to new sounds and weird things. Like there was a lot of that in producing that album. Like for example, Someone Something New is probably the most layered song, like the most layers and tracks and a
mm,
lot of background vocals on that track. And there are a lot of weird things. And I was like, I don't know why it has to be this weird vowel,
yeah.
but it does. And I don't know why it has to be this like yodely thing. Like, I don't know, but it's in my head. And oh, actually, now that I'm trying it, like I'm using my voice in a new way. That's cool to know and to find out.
Wow.
Um, and I just think that that's really, really fun. And that's what it's all about, right? Like we should be making things because it feels good. And if it doesn't feel good, then skip it. Throw it in the trash. Find the thing that does
Yeah.
feel good. Um, 'Cause man, what are we doing it for if it's not joyful and if it's not pleasurable?
Yeah.
And I
That's
think the fun of it has been just like a lot of pleasure for me.
yeah. Yeah, I love that. I can tell you're being very like intuitive and playful and what's the word? Like exploratory. You're just like exploring. That's what
Yeah.
it feels. Even when I listen to your music, like your original music, I haven't listened to everything yet. We're still in process. You have a lot of songs. They're so good. But even when I listen to it, I can just tell like she's just like it's like you're like like painting. I think of it like very
Mhm.
visually, and I think it's part of it is because I see a lot of your visuals. Like it's like I can imagine like your voice is like painting the sky when you're doing all of these different sounds that you're creating. So I love that like idea of playfulness, and so many times like I tell singers all the time like just like practice listening to yourself like sing by yourself,
Yeah.
not with the original singers. Sing even if you want to sing this song, sing it by yourself and play around with it, be playful with it,
Mhm.
and just see what comes up, see what you hear, or
Yeah.
hear what you hear, you know, at the
Yeah.
end of the day. But sometimes it's so hard for us to like listen to ourselves, but I'm like, you gotta get over that.
Well, okay. I gotta
Yeah.
say, recording
Hmm.
has made me I don't even think about that like at all. And so if I were to give anyone like a helpful tip to get over hearing your own voice,
Yeah.
is like whenever you are practicing, record your practicing and listen back to every single thing that you do. So that it's not like, oh my God, who is that? That's not
Yes.
me. It's like, well, it is. And you got to get used to it because you are you, and that's not changing anytime soon.
Right.
And so, like, getting comfortable hearing your own voice over and over will actually, I think, really make way for a very healthy relationship with your sound and your voice, not just subjectively and personally, but also objectively. Like
Yes.
if I hear my own voice, I'm not cringing at it because I'm used to it now. And like and I've learned I really love my voice now. I feel like if I did that when I was younger and I wasn't singing in my authentic truth, and my natural true sound, I used to feel that way about hearing my voice. And I think now that I've come to terms with like really embracing my voice for what it is and learning these new things about it, I'm like still so curious about my voice. I feel like she knows things I don't. Like I can learn from her. And so I feel like when I listen to myself over and over now, like it is this like normalized love that I feel that before was like this scary cringe thing.
Yeah.
And recording has really, really helped with that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, that's such good advice. Thank God that we have
I know.
technology to record ourselves
My
because, like,
goodness.
I mean, it's like looking in the mirror. Like
Mhm.
we know what we look like. We've looked at ourselves so many times over the years, and we just don't do that enough with our voices. But the more you do, the more you're just like, oh, that's just my voice. Like that's
Yeah.
just a
And
part.
because we have all this technology, there are no excuses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so last thing I wanted to ask, I know we have to wrap up soon. I love this conversation, but
Me too. I'm having so much fun.
I just wanted to ask you about your EP, Internal Rituals, and how, like, a little bit about the songwriting process. Did you know that that those songs were going to be on your EP? Like,
Yeah,
sorry.
so I I think I knew that past a certain point, like I had written a certain amount of songs and I was like, oh, wait, like this is telling a larger story.
Yeah,
I think this is the album that I've always wanted to make. Like I think
yeah,
this is the thing that I've always, because I have two EPs out of my original stuff that like truly flew under the radar because, and I my first one I did solely for myself. Both of them are 5 songs. And they're more of a like conglomeration with like an overarching theme. This was like, oh, this is telling a greater story of transformation and discovery and these things that I'm like opening my eyes to and waking up to. And so at first, like I would say probably the first three-ish songs I had no idea. I thought they were just songs that I was writing and like making demos for alone in my room, which is exactly what they were at that time. Um, but then as I just had like someone open the floodgates and I just kept writing, 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 and all of these songs were coming out, and I was like, oh wait, like I've always wanted to make an album.
yeah,
I think this is it. And I think the sound is it. And I
yeah.
feel like I've figured out who I am now in terms of
Hmm.
who I am as like a songwriter and a producer of my own stuff. And so it kind of unfolded itself to me, and then the intentionality kicked in.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Um, I had to let it do its thing and be like, it had to make itself aware to me. And then once I was aware of it, that's when I began really like crafting more mindfully. And I knew that like Goodbye Sojourner and Venusian Light, which are the last 2 songs on the album, were the last 2 songs that I wrote. So it really was kind of from then on a chronological crafting of
Yeah.
the story and like the finality and like arrival of the end of the album, which was kind of the button on that journey that I was going through at that time. Um, so yeah, it was like a little bit of this dance of like just flowing and then funneling the flow.
Mhm. Love that. That's really inspiring for people like me and others listening who maybe are kind of dipping their toes into songwriting or have been singing and really want to also write songs and sing their own songs, and it's really cool to hear that you have this kind of exploratory way of just like working on the songs, not really knowing necessarily the end product or the end goal, but
Hmm.
you're still putting in the work for them, which is really cool. And then did you produce the entire album?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, which is also another leg of you don't have to know what you're doing to do it.
You did it so
Because
well.
I'm over here, I like it was my first. bout of like really using MIDI and making beats for the first time and like
Yeah.
playing all of my own instrumentation and synths
Wow.
because I had released like all of the stuff I released prior to this album, um, except for Moss. I had worked with other people to like fill
Right.
out the instrumentation and production because I didn't know how, and I was like a little too scared to try.
Yeah.
Um, but then I was like, okay, no, we're not doing that anymore. And I have sounds in my head and I know what it wants to be. I know what it should sound like. And so I'm gonna figure out a way to do it. And really all it was just pressing a bunch of buttons and figuring it out and making mistakes and learning from them and having a whole lot of fun in the process. And I learned so much from making that album from
Mm.
a producer standpoint that now like there's truly no going back. Like
Yeah.
yeah, I'm having a blast writing the stuff that I'm writing now from all the things that I learned from that experience.
That's amazing. It was through the experience that you built that confidence to be like, oh, I'm definitely going to keep doing this. Just highlighting
1000%.
that one more time.
Yes. I mean, repetition is the key to enforcing anything.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Habits, beliefs, all of that stuff, you know?
Yes. Absolutely. This has been so incredible. I really, really, really appreciate you so much for coming to talk to us. There are some people listening. This is always my final question, but for the person who's listening, they're thinking to themselves, okay, but this is Eleri Ward. She's this like unicorn of a human being. Like she's just incredible. Like I could never create my own music, perform my own music, go on tour, but which by the way you are going on tour again, I believe. Like you
Yeah,
have
I
more
have
dates right now.
I have two shows coming up.
Yes, tell them about it.
I'm gonna be in Brooklyn on February 10th and Boston on February 13th. And I'm
Yes.
playing my entire album all the way through
Oh
because
my
I
God.
believe in that. I
Yes.
believe that as an artist, if you put out an album, you better be able to put on that whole show. Sing every
Yes.
song.
That's amazing. And so if you guys are near Brooklyn or Boston, please go. But like some people are gonna say, like, look, she's doing that. I could never. I don't even know, she's talking about, recording herself. Like I have so much fear of recording myself. So for the person who's listening, who's like still thinking like, I don't know if I can plant those seeds and build that flame into a bonfire. Like I just don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I could ever write my songs, produce my own music, perform, create my own musical, etc. I just don't feel confident. If you could just give them one last word of
Yeah.
just like heartfelt advice, what would you tell that person?
I think I would say the only thing that dictates whether or not you can or can't is your own belief.
Mm,
And so if you reallocate your power into yourself rather than all these outside forces and other people, that's what allows you to actually believe in yourself. And when you believe that you can, then you can. It really is as simple as that. It's like if you think that you can't, then you can't. But anything is true if you believe it. So if you believe you can, then you can. And I think just making that decision to give yourself permission and the authority and the agency to believe that you can, then trust that that is true.
incredible. And that's where we're going to end because I could not say anything better. That was so good and so true. Please tell everyone where you'd like them to find you, to connect with you, to learn about your tour dates so that they
Yeah.
can listen to your music and just get into everything you're doing.
1000%. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you because this has been such a joy. And second of all, yeah, you can find me on all the places. My website is elleryward.com, which has truly everything. You can also join my mailing list on there, which, then you don't miss a beat. But then on Instagram and TikTok and all the places, it's just me, Ellery Ward, my name, and I'm on all streaming platforms. And I hope to see some new folks at my shows. Like the in-person connection is really very special and very meaningful to me. So, and I always say hi to everyone afterwards as well. So, yeah, I really care about that connection, whether it's on social media, through my music, or at a live show. But yeah, hope to hope to connect with y'all in one form or another.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing and thank you for being here again.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you.
I appreciate you. This has been amazing.
Thank you so, so much for listening to today's episode and to this show. I'm so in awe of you for being here and showing up for your creative gifts. That takes courage. Don't forget to join the performing arts community on Facebook for support and inspiration as you continue on your journey. If this episode helped or inspired you in any way, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and share it with someone. It means so, so much. Thank you again, and don't forget to keep singing, acting, dancing, performing, and living creatively. Talk to you next time.